Hi guys, so as the Olympics is coming up, I thought I would do some Olympics inspired nails. So on these 4 fingers I'm going to be doing kind of like the Olympic logo but kind of spread out across the 4 fingers. So I've firstly painted all my nails in a white. I have used number 7 Stay Perfect white in Snowflake. And then I'm going to take a bright pink. So I've got China Glaze's Purple Panic, it's a neon colour. But it looks more pink to me than purple, but any bright pink that you've got will do, and I'm going to be using this tiny little brush. And I've just emptied some of the pink out onto a little bit of paper so I can dip my brush in. And I'm going to start on this finger with the 2. So it goes along the bottom like this. They're quite kind of squared and angular numbers. And then it goes up like that, and then in a little bit, then out a little bit, then it goes, I'm going to take that out a little bit more, then it goes up. And there I've kind of got my outline of my 2. So I'm going to do exactly the same on my little finger. On the logo it's slightly different because of the way it's laid out, but I'm going to do the same sort of 2 on this one. Okay, so I've got my 2 2s, and then on this finger, the middle finger, I'm going to do the 0. So again, it's a kind of quite a squared 0. So I'm going to start with 2 lines, like one here, and then one here. And then I'm going to bring this one up like that, and then this one down, so it's kind of matching, symmetrical almost. And then I'm going to go in a bit on each one. And then down to join it all together. And then finally on this finger I'm going to do the 1. So it goes down like that, and then in that way. Like that. And so I'm going to go over and colour all of those in with the same colour that I've outlined them all with. Okay, so now that I've filled in my numbers in the logo, I'm going to take a yellow colour, and this is by Barry M, and it's called Lemon Ice Cream. It's number 307. And using the same brush, I've just cleaned it off, I'm going to dip it in and outline some of the edges of the numbers. So now I've gone round with the yellow, I'm going to take a slightly more opaque white, which is Nina Ultra Pro's French white, and a small dotting tool, and I'm going to dip it in the white and create the white Olympic rings in the 0. So I'm going to do 3 up the top, and then I'm going to do 2 along the bottom in the middle. Like that. And now I'm going to dip it back into the China Glaze Purple Panic pink colour and do smaller dots in the middle of those 3 white dots. Like that. So it looks kind of like the Olympic rings in the middle. And then I'm going to take a white nail art polish, this one here, and it's got a nice thin brush, and it does say London along the bottom of the first 2, but I think that's a bit adventurous to try and fit that in there, so I'm just going to do like a little bit of a squiggle just to kind of show that there's something there. Like that. And then we can get onto the thumbs. So for my thumb, it's just completely white with the Snowflake by number 7, and what I'm going to do is create the Olympic rings. So the colours that I'm going to use for the Olympic rings are China Glaze Frostbite, the Barry M Lemon Ice Cream that I've already used. I've got another China Glaze one, it's called Liquid Leather, and it's a black colour. Then I've got Barry M in Spring Green, and then finally OPI in Big Apple Red. So I'm going to take the same dotting tool but use the other end, which is slightly larger, and I'm going to start with the blue. So I'm going to dip it in the blue and I'm going to create a little circle here. So I'm just going to make it slightly bigger than the dotting tool, like that. Then I'm going to wipe off the dotting tool and go ahead with my black. And I'm just going to do exactly the same next to this blue. And then for the third colour, I'm going to use the red. And then I'm going to do the exact same next to the black. Like that, so you've got the 3 dots. So I'm going to let those dry for a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the white in the centre of each of those rings, or circles, to create little rings. Like that. And then we can do the bottom row. So now I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to do a little circle of that below that line, but in between the blue and the black circles. And I'm going to make them slightly touch those 2 circles. And then I'm going to wipe my dotting tool off again and then do exactly the same with the green, but this time doing it between the red and the black. And then I'm going to go ahead with my white again and dot that in the middle of those 2. Then using the brush that I was using earlier, I'm going to dip it in some nail polish remover and just tidy up the circles so they're slightly neater. So yeah, that is my Olympic inspired nail art design. If you didn't want to do kind of the Olympic rings on the thumb, you could do your country's flag or something like that. But yeah, give it a go and let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!